The anime begins by showing a dude named Kashiwagi Asahi, a teenage guy who was all starry-eyed and hopeful to meet his dream girl. Now the funny thing is, he hadn't even laid eyes on her yet. But anyway, one fine morning, Asahi's obnoxious alarm clock rudely woke him up, signaling the start of a brand new day. Asahi, lucky dude that he was, lived in this fancy schmancy house with all the cool gadgets and stylish furniture you could imagine. So he got himself all spruced up for the day, but not before catching some TV. Now, as Asahi was channel surfing, he stumbled upon this fortune teller who was blabbering about people born in October, just like our hero. And guess what? The fortune teller predicted that today was gonna be his super lucky day. Asahi couldn't believe his ears. The stars were aligning for him, or so he thought. According to this mystical seer, everything from street corners to trains to stairs to dogs to cleaning robots to old letters would shower him with good luck. It was like a cosmic party just for him. Now, as Asahi was getting ready to head off to school, his fancy robot alarm clock named Loveland chimed in to remind him not to be a sleepyhead. But oh no, he realized he was running late. In a mad dash, he grabbed a banana on the go and rushed out of the house. As fate would have it, he reached the very intersection the fortune teller had mentioned. And wouldn't you know it, he accidentally bumped into this geeky girl called Musawa Aoi. She freaked out in her panic, shoved Asahi against a wall to protect her unmentionables. Don't worry, folks, Asahi didn't see anything. He quickly assured Aoi, and she breathed a sigh of relief before scurrying off. But whoopsie-daisy, she dropped some of her stuff in the chaos. Being the good-hearted lad he was, Asahi scooped up her things and dashed to catch his train. Now imagine Asahi finally makes it to the train station on time, feeling all triumphant. He finds an empty seat, plops down, and then out of the blue, this green-haired girl named Bai Mongfa comes prancing up to him. And guess what she does? She goes ahead and hugs Asahi's arm like it's some kind of a teddy bear. In his desperate attempt to break free, poor Asahi accidentally grabs hold of her chest instead. Ouch. Mongfa didn't take kindly to that and gave him a good kick in the noggin. Luckily, the train had reached their stop and Asahi bolted out faster than a cheetah on caffeine. Despite all the craziness he just went through, Asahi couldn't help but think back to that fortune teller's prediction. It was like the real deal, spot on twice in one day. It blew his mind. So now he's making his way down the stairs the fortune teller had mentioned. But guess what? Out of nowhere, this other girl named Istel Karin tackles him, blaming him for her tumble down the stairs. And if that weren't enough, she accuses poor Asahi of having a banana situation in his pants. Can you believe that? It was just his healthy stash of bananas, folks. So after Karin made her dramatic exit, Asahi carried on with his adventure. And guess what? Out of the blue, the super adorable doggy comes prancing up to him. Little did Asahi know this doggo was part of the prophecy too. So naturally, he followed the pup and stumbled upon a girl named Ilyukhin Irina. And what did he find? Well, it turns out Irina was being bullied by another dog. Asahi couldn't just stand there and do nothing, so he swooped in to save the day. But things took a nasty turn when the first doggy turned on Asahi and knocked him out cold. Well, Asahi's peaceful slumber was rudely interrupted by a pack of hyperactive kindergarten kids who were on a mission to conquer school. Asahi knew he had to keep going on his journey, but boy, oh boy, he dreaded what was coming next. You see, the prophecy said he would encounter a cleaning robot. And let me tell you, his luck didn't do a happy dance. As he made his way forward, guess what he saw? A cleaning robot zooming around, carrying a pair of girls' undies. Awkward alert. Before Asahi could even process what was happening, the owner of those panties, a feisty pink-haired girl named Irving Amelia, accused him of hacking the poor robot. Asahi tried to convince her that it wasn't him, but she wasn't buying it. And just when things couldn't get any crazier, the cleaning robot went haywire and mistook Amelia for trash, dragging her away with it. Asahi was torn between helping her and getting to school, where he was already late as a turtle in a marathon. Being the sneaky ninja that he was, Asahi managed to sneak into his classroom, praying that his teacher wouldn't notice him. But surprise, surprise, his classmate Eiju and Yoshio broke the news that they had new students joining their class. And guess who they were? Yep, you guessed it right. The very same girls Asahi had encountered earlier that day. Can you believe it? And get this, their teacher was none other than Mongfa herself. Asahi tried his darndest to avoid eye contact with Mongfa, but no luck. Eventually, he had no choice but to do this crazy contortion act with his face to avoid being recognized. Oh, the lengths he went to. But oh no, Aoi, that sneaky smarty pants, saw right through his disguise and spilled the beans to the other girls. And you won't believe what happened next. They gave Asahi a good old slap fest.
Kashiwagi-kun?
Hoi.
こらこら、ふざけてるのかしら？
Ouch. In his humiliation, poor Asahi even forgot Yoshio's name. Talk about being in a pickle. And in that moment, Asahi started wondering if that wacky prophecy he saw on TV might actually be coming true. Later that day, it was time for the sports lesson, and both Asahi and Yoshio changed into their sporty outfits. Yoshio was totally surprised when he heard that Asahi had already bumped into the new students earlier. Meanwhile, Aoi was starting to see Asahi in a different light and spilled the beans to Karin and Amelia. They had a little powwow and shared their thoughts. Oh, and guess what? Aoi also realized that she had lost something during their collision earlier. Sneaky. During gym class, Yoshio filled Asahi in on the names of the new girls, Aoi, Karin, Amelia, and Arina, along with their teacher, Mongfa. Asahi's jaw hit the floor, and to add some spice to the mix, Yoshio teased him about picking one of the girls. Well, at least he gave him some friendly advice to clear up any misunderstandings. What a wingman. As sport class came to an end, Asahi headed to the locker room to change clothes. And guess what he found? A letter. But his stomach growled louder than his curiosity, so he quickly brushed it off and focused on ordering some lunch. As Asahi made his way to the cafeteria, he narrowly dodged another collision with Aoi, who scolded him for his lightning-fast running in the corridor. She also brought up the item she had lost earlier. Well, guess what? Asahi, being the adorable goofball that he was, mistakenly returned Amelia's undies instead, earning himself another slap from Aoi. Ouchie. Finally, Asahi arrived at the lunch machine, all ready to satisfy his growling tummy. But disaster struck. All the food was sold out. What are the odds? And wouldn't you know it, Karin was there too, desperately searching for something to munch on. Being the kind soul he was, Asahi felt sorry for her and offered her his own lunch, good old bananas that he had brought from home. And you know what? Karin was so grateful that she happily accepted his offer and chomped down on those bananas like they were the best thing she ever tasted. She thanked Asahi and suddenly realized that the thing she kicked earlier that day was actually one of his bananas. Now all Asahi wanted was a refreshing banana-flavored drink from the vending machine. But oh no, fate had other plans for him. He got caught up in a whirlwind of chaotic events. He stumbled upon Arina, who was being chased by a scary doggo. And being the brave soul he was, he stepped in to protect her. Well, things went south real quick when that dog decided to take a bite out of Asahi's behind. Ouch, that's gonna leave a mark. Despite the pain, Asahi didn't give up. He made his way back to the classroom, and there he found Mongfa. She noticed his injured hand and whisked him away to the school health room for some TLC. And you know what? She even apologized for a previous incident on the train that had caused a bit of tension between them. It's healing time, both physically and emotionally. And guess what? In no time, Amelia made her grand entrance at the health room, seeking a plaster for her own boo-boo. Asahi, being the helpful soul, he was offered to lend a hand. But oh no, she turned down his offer like a pro. But our determined hero didn't give up that easily. He remembered the bizarre gift the cleaning robot had bestowed upon him earlier, a pair of women's undies, of all things. So he whipped them out and offered them to Amelia as a makeshift bandage. And you won't believe it, she actually apologized for how she had treated him earlier. As the school bell finally rang, Asahi let out a sigh of relief. Another exhausting day had come to an end. But just when he thought he could head home and call it a day, he remembered that mysterious letter that had magically appeared in his locker. Despite his doubts, he mustered up the courage to follow its cryptic instructions and meet the sender at a secret spot. When Asahi arrived at the designated location, he got the shock of his life. Can you guess who the letter's author was? Drumroll, please. It was none other than Aoi, one of his fellow students. Asahi's heart skipped a beat and his face turned as red as a tomato. Oh boy, things were about to get complicated. To his horror, he also realized that he had been carrying around Aoi's panties all day long, completely oblivious to the fact. Oh, the embarrassment. Poor Asahi didn't know where to look or what to say. The situation was beyond awkward. But hold on tight because the surprises weren't over yet. Brace yourself, folks. Aoi dropped a bombshell confession. She had feelings for Asahi. Can you believe it? Asahi was so taken aback that he had to ask her to repeat it, thinking he must have heard wrong. But nope, it was real. Aoi had genuine feelings for our unsuspecting hero. Caught between a rock and a hard place, Asahi struggled to respond. He didn't want to hurt Aoi's feelings, but he also couldn't wrap his head around the chaotic events of the day. As if things weren't awkward enough, Asahi mustered the courage to ask Aoi about the missing undies. Oh boy, was she mortified. She quickly covered herself up, red-faced and flustered. Our hero, being the smooth talker he was, tried to come up with a crazy explanation. He suggested that maybe the panties had been swept away by the wind and got caught on a tree or something. But Aoi was way too embarrassed to stick around and dashed off like a rocket. Asahi bumped into Irina, who had fallen head over heels for him after he heroically protected her from a ferocious dog earlier. While they were chatting, their conversation was rudely interrupted by Mongfa, who urgently needed Asahi's assistance in a super narrow alleyway. At first, Asahi was all eager to help out, but things quickly went bonkers when Mongfa clung to him tightly to avoid being spotted by some dudes chasing her. And guess what? Asahi totally passed out, like a total fainting champ. Asahi's life got seriously complicated when his teacher, Mongfa, spilled the beans about her crush on him. Asahi wasn't feeling the same way and made a quick exit. Just when Asahi thought things couldn't get any worse, he stumbled upon Karin, rocking a full-on wedding getup. Freaked out that Karin might spill her guts about her feelings for him, Asahi did everything he could to dodge her. But nope, Karin was determined and started chasing him down the street like a maniac. Asahi tried his best to brush off Karin's advances, but she just wouldn't give up. Then, out of nowhere, she whipped out a picture of herself from a billboard, proving that she was a legit model. And if that wasn't enough, she confessed that she was dead set on getting hitched. But Asahi was not even a little bit interested. But wait, things took a wild turn when Karin spilled the beans that she wanted to marry him specifically. Asahi was freaked out by her confession, like seriously, how was he supposed to deal with this sudden obsession? Desperate to escape Karin's clinginess, Asahi came up with a plan. He decided to play along and pretend to reciprocate her feelings. But then he pulled his sneaky move on her by acting like he was about to kiss her, only to leave her hanging with her eyes all closed and confused. As if Asahi's luck couldn't get any worse, he bumped into Amelia, who totally forced him to sign an autograph. At first, Asahi was like, no way, but eventually caved in due to Amelia's relentless persistence. Little did he know, he had actually signed a freaking marriage certificate. Asahi quickly rejected the whole idea, insisting that he was way too young to tie the knot. But Amelia wouldn't hear any of it and demanded that he take responsibility for his actions. Just when things were spiraling out of control, a wacky malfunctioning cleaning robot swooped in and whisked Amelia away, saving Asahi from any further trouble. Just when Asahi thought he could finally relax, he got the shock of his life when he reached home. Guess what? There were not one, not two, if 5 girls waiting for him inside. He couldn't believe his own eyes and wondered if he had walked into the wrong house. But nope, it was his place all right. Feeling utterly confused, Asahi stepped inside and bam. He was immediately bombarded with questions about a message from his dad. Loveland, being the bossy one, demanded that he spill the beans and read the message aloud. And guess what the message said? Asahi's dad had sent these girls as potential brides for him to choose from. Yep, you heard it right. Asahi had a whole lineup of ladies to pick as his future wife. But wait, there was a twist. Irina still insisted that she was a man. Asahi couldn't wrap his head around the absurdity of the situation. He hadn't even had a moment to think when the girls started fighting over him like they were on some reality TV show. Poor Asahi felt like he was stuck in a tornado of emotions, spinning him around and leaving him completely overwhelmed. He tried to reason with them, telling them they couldn't just crash at his place. But guess what? These girls had been staying in hotels and had nowhere else to go. Asahi scratched his head, trying to figure out how he could possibly accommodate all these girls when he didn't even have enough beds. But wait for it. His dad had somehow magically added more beds just for them. It was like a furniture explosion. Asahi attempted to shoo them away, arguing that he was the only man in the house. But Irina, the persistent one, insisted that she was also a man. Asahi didn't know what to say to that. He even mentioned that living with them would get him in trouble with the school, but Mongfa confidently claimed that she had already gotten permission from the school. So, with no more excuses left, poor Asahi reluctantly gave in and agreed to let the girls stay. In the evening, Asahi was super relieved to plop down and chill while Aoi took charge of cooking dinner. Finally a moment of peace, right? Well, not for long. Suddenly, all the other girls scrambled to do the same, and before Asahi knew it, he was surrounded by a gang of girls all vying for his attention. It was like a whirlwind of chaos. As he sipped his tea, Aoi and Irina pulled a sneak attack and approached him, making him feel all jittery and uncomfortable. Desperate for some quiet time, Asahi thought, hey, maybe a nice bath will do the trick. But oh boy, when Karin asked to join him, he wasted no time in giving her the boot out of the bathroom. Phew, finally some alone time, right? Well, not quite. As Asahi relaxed in the tub, he couldn't shake off this weird feeling that something was off. And guess what? His instincts were spot on. He discovered Amelia hiding in the bathtub. Yep, you heard it right. She was hiding in there. That definitely put an end to his relaxing bath time, and he quickly retreated to his room for the night. Before hitting the sack, Asahi did a thorough inspection of his room, like a detective on high alert. He was paranoid that one of the girls might try to pull a sneaky move and seduce him while he slept. Talk about being on edge. Just as he settled down, ready to doze off, he was jolted awake by the sight of Mongfa hanging from the ceiling like a spider. Can you even imagine the shock? Asahi had reached his breaking point with the girls constantly pestering him. No matter how many times he warned them, they just wouldn't give him a moment of peace. So he had to take matters into his own hands. He gave them an ultimatum. Either they pack their bags and leave or he would. But guess what? No response from the girls. They were playing hard to get. So Asahi made a bold decision to leave his own home. He wandered aimlessly, feeling lost and frustrated until he stumbled upon a temple on a hill. There he tried to find some inner peace and calm his crazy emotions. But wait, just when Asahi thought he was alone, Aoi magically appeared out of nowhere. She spilled the beans about the girls fighting for his affection and even apologized on their behalf. Aoi convinced Asahi to go back home, and after some serious contemplation, he finally gave in. He realized he didn't want to kick the girls out after all. However, as he was about to head back, Aoi broke down in tears, revealing some kind of mysterious past connection between them. Meanwhile, the girls were all getting ready to leave, thinking Asahi had abandoned them. But guess what? Asahi returned just in the nick of time to stop them. He expressed his concerns about sending them away and ultimately made the heartwarming decision to let them stay. The next morning, Asahi woke up and surprise, Amelia was hiding under his blanket, trying to sneakily get his fingerprints on a marriage certificate. Talk about a bizarre wake-up call, but that wasn't all. Asahi realized that his room's security lock had been busted by Amelia and her partner in crime. Who needs privacy, right? As Asahi made his way to the breakfast table, he couldn't help but notice that Aoi had prepared an omelet with his name written in sauce. It was like breakfast art. As he was about to question Aoi about her possible involvement in the break-in, all hell broke loose. Karin was running around like a headless chicken searching for her towel. Mongfa was on the verge of tears because she couldn't find her tablet, and poor Amelia was frantically rummaging through her things, desperately trying to find her underwear. Chaos, I tell you, absolute chaos. Just when things couldn't get any crazier, Aoi called Amelia to help her with breakfast. And who decided to jump in as well? Irina, the sauce master. She started showing off her calligraphy skills by writing kanji with sauce, while poor Amelia struggled to keep up. It was like a battle of the condiments. Later at school, Amelia wasn't too thrilled about the kanji lesson. But then she noticed Karin casually writing on the blackboard like it was a piece of cake. That sparked a fire in Amelia, and she was determined to prove her own kanji skills. Well, let's just say it didn't quite go as planned. She ended up writing the wrong kanji and felt super embarrassed. And just to add salt to the wound, the teacher announced a kanji writing test for the next week. Yikes. After class, Amelia and the gang wanted to have lunch with Asahi, but guess what? He was nowhere to be found. Turns out he had made a sneaky escape outside the classroom with Yoshio, just to avoid the lunchtime madness. Smart move, Asahi. During your lunch break, Yoshio couldn't help but comment on Amelia's cuteness. But of course, Asahi denied it and instead focused on Amelia's fierce competitive spirit and her refusal to lose to anyone. A few days ago, Asahi and the girls were having a friendly game of paper, rock, scissors, and poor Amelia kept losing. She was determined to turn the tables and stayed up late, studying all the tricks and strategies of the game. She even challenged the girls to a rematch with a tantalizing pudding prize on the line. But alas, even with all her efforts, Amelia still couldn't claim the victory and was left utterly crushed and inconsolable. Later on, Asahi arrived home only to discover that Amelia was nowhere to be found in the living room. So being the good friend that he is, he decided to pay her a visit at her own place. Little did he know, he would stumble upon something quite suspicious. He overheard Amelia talking in a hush-hush tone, raising his curiosity and making him want to investigate further. Turns out, Amelia was trying to learn how to read kanji from an adult book. Talk about an unconventional study method. Despite the odd approach, Asahi was impressed by her dedication and promised to help her study the next day. The following day after school, Asahi and Amelia met up at the library for their study session. Asahi intentionally chose the library to avoid any misunderstandings with the other girls who might think they were studying alone in Amelia's room. Asahi handed Amelia some questions, expecting her to breeze through them. But to his surprise, all of her answers were way off, even on the second attempt. He quickly realized that Amelia needed a real teacher to help her grasp the concepts better. Later on, Asahi discovered that Amelia had been studying all by herself in her room and had been avoiding hanging out with the other girls. Poor girl, she was really putting in the effort. The next day, Asahi spotted Amelia still hard at work in the library, diligently practicing writing kanji. He couldn't quite understand why she was putting so much effort into it, but when he innocently expressed his confusion, Amelia scolded him, feeling like he had underestimated her determination. Oof, she was fired up. Despite her frustration, Amelia left Asahi in the library to continue her studies, determined to prove herself. Asahi made his way back home and discovered that Amelia was still upset and refusing to eat. Worried about his friend, he decided to pay her a visit in her room. There, Amelia poured her heart out, revealing that she was feeling down and selfish. She didn't want to lose and was struggling to express her gratitude towards Asahi for teaching her. Asahi listened attentively, offering words of encouragement and assuring her that her efforts would never go to waste. He was genuinely happy to see her interested in learning the language of his country. They reminisced about their shared past, and to lift her spirits, Asahi gifted Amelia a special notebook for practicing writing kanji. That definitely put a smile on her face. However, the private moment was suddenly interrupted when the other girls accidentally barged into the room, catching Asahi by surprise. After that incident, Amelia became even more determined to excel in her studies. She worked her socks off and managed to score a solid 70 on her kanji writing exam. Not too shabby, but guess what? She wasn't satisfied with that. Nope, not one bit. She vowed to keep pushing herself and studying even harder. Talk about a fire in her belly. During a break, Yoshio couldn't help but comment to Asahi about the noticeable change in Amelia's behavior. Oh, the intrigue. Meanwhile, Asahi received a lunchbox from Amelia as a token of her appreciation, and that made Yoshio super jealous. Oh boy, the lunch drama. Later on, Irina was shown having a wild dream about her father, who encouraged her to become a man when she was just a little kid. Talk about a surreal dream. The very next day, all the girls, including Irina, headed to a lucky draw event with high hopes of winning the ultimate prize, a dreamy hot spring vacation for two. But guess what? Fate had something even better in store for them. To their surprise and joy, they won not one, not two, but 3 grand prizes. Can you imagine the excitement? So Asahi joined the girls as they embarked on a thrilling trip to the hot springs. As they arrived at the old building housing the hot springs, Asahi and the girls couldn't help but feel a bit spooked by the towering and creepy-looking owner. But hey, appearances can be deceiving. They were quickly mesmerized by the ancient decorations adorning the walls and the hot spring itself. The place was a hidden gem. After getting their rooms assigned, Asahi insisted on sharing a room with Irina, and the girls happily agreed. Once they settled in, Karin and Amelia wasted no time in inviting everyone for a game of table tennis, and let me tell you, things got intense real quick. Mongfa suddenly unleashed her insane table tennis skills, making the ball bounce all over the place like it had a mind of its own. It didn't take long for the ball to go haywire and hit poor Asahi, and if that wasn't enough, it even tore Irina's shirt. After that intense table tennis showdown, they sat down for a well-deserved dinner. And you know what they talked about? The legendary tango. It was said that tango often made appearances in hot springs just like the one they were staying at. Later on, the gang decided to have some fun and take a dip in the hot spring pool. But hold on a second. Irina had reservations about joining Asahi in the water because she was afraid her secret identity as a girl would be exposed. So, you know what she did? She came up with a plan to disguise herself. She slapped on a mask of the legendary figure Tango. But here's the twist. The mask had a nose that, well, kinda looked like a standing. You know what? Yep, it caught Asahi by surprise too. At first he was taken aback, but then he praised Irina for her bravery and called her a true man. And guess what? Asahi even felt a bit embarrassed about his own, smaller size. As the back rubbing session continued, Asahi and Irina took turns massaging each other. Asahi was totally caught off guard when he felt how smooth Irina's back was, and he panicked when she asked to switch positions. But guess what? When Irina caught sight of Asahi's smooth back, she was impressed and eagerly started massaging him. But wait, things took a hilarious turn. Suddenly, Asahi felt something hitting his back, and lo and behold, it was Irina's breasts. That caused a total panic, and Irina suggested they head to the sauna for a competition instead. Meanwhile, the other girls were chilling in the hot spring pool, having a good time. But you know Karin, she couldn't resist taking a sneak peek to see what Asahi and Irina were up to. And guess who joined in on the spying action? Amelia, of course. They were both busy spying on Asahi, who was blissfully unaware of their attention. In the sauna, Irina was struggling to endure the scorching heat, with temperatures skyrocketing to a hopping 90 degrees. But wait for it. When she caught a glimpse of Asahi's ordinary appearance, she tapped into a hidden well of strength and unleashed an impressive display of power that left him in complete awe. Little did Asahi know, he still believed that Irina was a real man with superhuman strength. Finally, the moment arrived. Asahi and Irina faced off in the sauna, and Asahi was blown away by Irina's sheer strength. He truly believed that Irina was a genuine man. But here's the bombshell. Irina was actually a girl who had cleverly disguised herself as a boy named Tango. Mind-blowing, right? After Irina defeated Asahi, she headed to the outdoor bathing pool, only to have her towel blown away by a gust of wind. On the other side, the girls climbed up the dividing wall to catch a glimpse of the next pool. And when they saw Irina in her Tango disguise, they were convinced that Tango was a real person. Meanwhile, Asahi was on a mission to find Irina, unaware of her true identity. But while he was distracted, Irina seized the opportunity to grab a towel and sneak into the indoor bathing pool. But oh no, disaster struck. She slipped on soap and ended up fainting. After some time had passed, Irina woke up in a room, feeling a bit puzzled about what had transpired. It turned out that Asahi had found her unconscious in the bathing pool, and being the kind-hearted guy he is, he carried her to the room so she could rest. Asahi, being the observant fellow he is, had discovered Irina's secret. He couldn't help but apologize for not realizing sooner that she was actually a girl. And you know what? Irina apologized too for pretending to be a man. The air was filled with forgiveness and understanding. Curiosity got the best of Asahi, and he just had to know why Irina went to such lengths to pretend to be a man. So she opened up about her past. When she was a young nun, her father had this crazy idea in his head and wanted his son, so he made Irina act like one. But her mother, bless her soul, always encouraged Irina to be true to herself. After listening to Irina's heartfelt story, Asahi gave her a choice. He told her she could either keep living a lie or embrace her true self. And guess what? Irina made the brave decision to be herself. Asahi couldn't help but wrap her in a warm, congratulatory hug. It was a joyous moment filled with memories of their shared past. Now, as Asahi and his fantastic female friends were getting ready to head home, they couldn't contain their excitement. What were they buzzing about? Tango's recent appearance at some event, of course. Oh boy, did they have tales to tell. But hold on a second. Asahi found their story amusing and let out a hearty laugh. Little did he know the real Tango was among them, and that real Tango was none other than Irina herself. The very next day, as the gang gathered to leave for school, they were in for a shock. Imagine their surprise when Irina emerged wearing a skirt. And in that moment, she spilled the beans to her friends. She had been hiding her true identity all this time. Her name wasn't Ilya, but Irina. And yes, you guessed it, she was actually a girl. Mind-blowing, right? Now that everyone knew Irina's secret, the news spread like wildfire throughout the school. Even Asahi and Yoshio couldn't resist discussing it. Oh, the chatter. But hold your horses, the conversation was abruptly interrupted by none other than their teacher, Mongfa. She swooped in to remind them to get to class, but not before taking a moment to straighten Asahi's tie. Oh, poor Yoshio. He couldn't help but feel a twinge of envy as he wondered why Asahi always seemed to attract attention from the girls. But hey, guess what? Yoshio had a confession to make. He secretly admired Mongfa, even though she was their teacher. He couldn't help but be smitten by her multiple talents and the fact that she had quite the fan following among the students, not just the girls. Oh, the admiration. But hold on, Asahi didn't seem too fazed by Mongfa's popularity. He knew of her little secret. You see, when she's at home, she's a completely different person. Asahi spilled the tea and revealed that Mongfa loved to indulge in a little drinky until she got herself properly tipsy. Quite the contrast from her strict school persona, don't you think? Amelia, always curious, got intrigued by Mongfa's drinking habits and even dared to ask for a taste of sake. Well, Mongfa swiftly refused, reminding her that she wasn't of legal drinking age. But here's where things get a bit wobbly. Mongfa had enjoyed a bit too much of the good stuff and was completely oblivious to the fact that her dress button was undone. Silly Mongfa. And who did she turn to for help? You guessed it, Asahi. She asked him to fix it up for her. Now, even in her tipsy state, Mongfa couldn't help but express her fondness for the people in Asahi's home and how happy she was living with them. But oh dear, her alcohol-induced adventure had taken its toll and Mongfa passed out cold. That left poor Asahi with no choice but to scoop her up and carry her to her room. As Asahi finally returned to his own room, he couldn't believe his eyes. There, hiding under his cozy blanket, was someone unexpected. At first, he thought it was Amelia up to her usual shenanigans. But lo and behold, it wasn't Amelia at all. It was none other than Colonel Sanders, the adult man himself. Asahi was left dumbfounded, trying to make sense of this strange and unexpected visitor. But before he could even react, Sanders snatched him up. Next thing he knew, Asahi found himself whisked away to Sanders' headquarters. Oh, the nerve. He was coerced into becoming Sanders' partner in crime, tasked with luring someone for him. But hold on tight because help was just around the corner. In a stroke of luck, Mongfa appeared just in the nick of time, ready to rescue Asahi. She armed him with all the tools he needed to fight back against Sanders. As they made their daring escape, they stumbled upon a group of Sanders' henchmen who had already been defeated by Mongfa. But wait, there was more. They ran into another guard, and Mongfa, coming as ever, pretended to be helpless. And wouldn't you know it, she unleashed her hidden combat skills, leaving Asahi in awe. Who knew she had such badass moves up her sleeve? With the elevator out of commission, they had no choice but to take the stairs. Oh, what an adventure! But to their dismay, they found the door locked. Mongfa, ever the problem solver, suggested a detour to the control room. And here comes the fun part. Mongfa used her unique abilities to see things beyond human reach. It was like having superpowers. She directed Asahi to hang out the window and break the glass on a lower floor. Finally, they reached the coveted control room. Mongfa wasted no time, swiftly gaining access and opening up the building's security systems. As the incredible story unfolded, a shocking revelation came to light. Mongfa, the beloved teacher, had a hidden identity as none other than Bloody Tiger, a notorious hitman wanted by Colonel Sanders for revenge. Despite her best efforts to conceal her true self, Mongfa's secret was exposed when Sanders confronted her and Asahi about it. Talk about a jaw-dropping moment. In order to protect her identity, Mongfa jumped into action, engaging in an epic showdown with Sanders. Asahi could only stand there, wide-eyed and amazed, as the fierce battle unfolded before his eyes. Little did he know there was even more to Mongfa's story. In the midst of their fierce clash, Sanders dropped a bombshell on Asahi. He revealed that Mongfa was once a skilled assassin. Oh, the shock and disbelief. Asahi couldn't wrap his head around this mind-boggling revelation. Who would have thought his dear teacher had such a dangerous past? But hold on tight, because Mongfa wasn't one to be easily defeated. With her incredible skills and quick thinking, she managed to incapacitate Sanders using a special yarn. She then turned to Asahi and gave him a crucial mission: release a hostage by pressing a button. After the intense battle, Mongfa and Asahi made their daring escape. As they took a moment to catch their breath, Mongfa finally admitted to her past as a hitman. However, she quickly realized that her old life was meaningless. She found her true calling as a teacher and had discovered happiness living with Asahi and the rest of their quirky gang. But the story wasn't over yet. Mongfa and Asahi still had to confront Sanders and his menacing crew. Mongfa, knowing that Asahi couldn't handle the dangerous situation, selflessly asked him to leave first. Asahi, torn between guilt and the need to protect himself, reluctantly followed her instructions. As Asahi made his way in the opposite direction, he couldn't help but feel guilty about leaving Mongfa behind. But little did he know, Mongfa was a force to be reckoned with. She valiantly fought and defeated Sanders' men, although the violence of the battle brought tears to her eyes. However, just when they thought it was over, Sanders returned and had partially transformed into a robot. The fight between Mongfa and Sanders reignited, more intense than ever. It seemed like Mongfa was trapped, cornered by the formidable enemy. But wait, here comes our hero Asahi to the rescue. With a surge of courage, he rushed to Mongfa's aid, ready to take on Sanders. Unfortunately, Sanders proved to be a formidable opponent, overpowering Asahi. Oh, the tension and despair. But little did Sanders know, Asahi had a trick up his sleeve. Covered in lotion, he used this unexpected advantage to deliver a shocking surprise to Sanders. While Asahi shocked him, Mongfa unleashed a series of powerful kicks, relentless until Sanders was finally defeated. Once their task was complete, Mongfa turned to Asahi, curious about why he had helped her. Despite their complicated history, Asahi simply shrugged it off and reminded Mongfa that she was still his teacher. He didn't care about her past. All he wanted was for them to go home together. Later on, when Karin returned from work, she was in for a big surprise. She discovered Mongfa and Asahi fast asleep on the couch, utterly exhausted from their endeavors. With plans to run to the convenience store for some shopping, Asahi thought it would be a smooth and uneventful trip. Little did he know, his plans were about to take a wild turn. As he stumbled upon an article about a witch girl in the news, he became completely engrossed. Lost in his reading, he didn't realize that danger lurked around the corner. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a robot attacked him. Oh, the shock and surprise. But fear not, for the very witch girl from the article appeared in the nick of time, ready to rescue our hero. The next day, Asahi couldn't contain his excitement as he shared his thrilling encounter with Yoshio. But alas, his friend dismissed the idea of a witch girl swooping in to save the day. Just when things seemed to settle down, Karin had a surprising request for Asahi. She asked if she could sleep with him. Oh, the unexpectedness of it all. But as Yoshio's jealousy bubbled up, a peculiar sight caught their attention: robots flying in the sky. The chaos escalated as the robots descended upon the school, catching everyone off guard. Mongfa, always ready to protect her students, rushed to the classroom. But alas, it was too late. While Asahi managed to survive thanks to Mongfa's heroic intervention, Yoshio wasn't as fortunate. He bore the brunt of the robot's attack, and the consequences were truly bizarre. The robot fired a bullet that resembled underwear, and upon impact, Yashio's manhood vanished into thin air. Asahi couldn't help but notice that Karin was missing from class, and he soon embarked on a quest to find her. To his surprise, he discovered that she had transformed into the legendary witch girl on the school roof. It turns out that Karin had been hiding her secret powers all along and using them to maintain peace. Asahi finally witnessed her magical transformation firsthand, and boy, was it a sight to behold. Just when things couldn't get any stranger, a mischievous little robot named Sagami popped up out of nowhere. And oh boy, did he have a strange request. Sagami demanded that Asahi touch Karin's breasts to enhance her power. Talk about an unusual power-up method. With a push from Sagami, Asahi accidentally grabbed Karin's breast, and to everyone's surprise, it actually boosted her magical abilities. With newfound strength, Karin took to the skies, ready to tackle the swarm of invading robots. However, our courageous witch girl soon faced a formidable opponent, the biggest, baddest robot of them all. Despite Karin's valiant attack, it seemed to have little effect on the colossal robot. Instead, her own powers were rapidly draining. Oh, not good. But fear not, she managed to save herself from harm. Phew. Curiosity piqued, Asahi demanded answers from the mischievous Sagami. And boy, did he have a story to tell. Sagami explained that the attacking robots hailed from his dimension, and he had no clue why they had ventured to Earth. Talk about an interdimensional mystery. But here's the kicker. Sagami dropped a bombshell. He warned that if the number on the largest robot reached 69, then all male penises on Earth would vanish. To defeat the gargantuan robot, Sagami spilled the beans on their secret weapon, the TDL power. And guess what? He had prepared a special container called MM5 to generate it. But here's the catch. He needed Asahi's help to activate it. Meanwhile, Aoi and the rest of the girls were in a frenzy preparing to evacuate the school. They were worried sick about Asahi's safety, as any friend would be. Little did they know that he was right in the midst of this epic battle between witches and robots. Asahi, Karin, and Sagami embarked on a wild car ride to reach MN5, the magical container that could generate the powerful TDL energy needed to defeat the pesky attacking robots. Sagami spilled the beans to Asahi, explaining that the key to activating the TDL power was through a romantic relationship that would make Karin's heart flutter. Yep, you heard that right. It was all about love and heart-pounding moments. But here's the twist. Asahi was not exactly keen on getting down and dirty with Karin. He tried to think of alternative ways to get her heart racing without diving into the world of romance. Let's just say his attempts didn't quite go as planned. Asahi's failed attempts led him to realize that Karin wasn't the person he thought she was. Despite her claims of fondness for Asahi, her actions didn't quite match up. Asahi came to the startling conclusion that Karin didn't actually feel true love for him. But wait, it gets even more complicated. Karin vehemently denied Asahi's accusations and insisted that sexual intercourse was the necessary ingredient to save the city. Talk about a wild proposition. Asahi, however, stood his ground and firmly refused to comply with Karin's demands. As the heated argument continued, Aoi approached the car where MM5 was located. Curiosity got the better of her, and she attempted to catch a glimpse of what was happening inside. But guess what? Karin blocked her view, and to everyone's surprise, Aoi's eyes turned red. In the nick of time, Sagami arrived on the scene and witnessed Asahi and Karin engaged in a fiery argument. At first, he assumed they had just had a steamy encounter, but boy, was he wrong. Turns out, they hadn't engaged in any romantic escapades at all. Plot twist, and guess what? Asahi managed to make Karin's heart race without taking things to a steamy level. Out of nowhere, a horde of relentless robots stormed in and launched a full-blown attack on MM5's car. But fear not, Asahi sprang into action like a superhero, drawing the robots away from the vehicle with all his might. Meanwhile, Karin, who had been instructed by Asahi to flee the scene, experienced an unexpected surge of power. It was as if a switch had been flipped inside her. Her heart race and her TDL powers went into overdrive. She was ready to unleash some serious magic. In a breathtaking fashion, Karin emerged from the MM5 car, transformed into a mystical being adorned in a mesmerizing outfit. All eyes were on her as she locked onto the biggest, baddest robot of them all. Time was ticking away, and they had to act fast before the robot's countdown reached the infamous 69 mark. With a mighty burst of energy, Karin launched her most powerful attack, aiming to bring down the colossal robot. But alas, her first strike wasn't enough to take it down. But fear not, Asahi, being the hero that he is, rushed to Karin's side, brandishing her staff with unwavering determination. Together, they form an unbeatable duo, combining their powers to deliver a devastating blow to the robot. Boom! The robot crumbled to pieces, and like magic, all the vanished penises made their grand reappearance. Karin couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of joy and gratitude towards Asahi for her heroic assistance. However, amidst the celebration, a shadow of fear cast over her as she recalled a past event involving Asahi. Her emotions were in turmoil, and she couldn't shake the fear of being close to him. Meanwhile, in a different corner of the world, robots similar to Loveland were seen gathering around a mysterious girl named Feynman Yoshino. Intrigue and mystery lurked in the air, adding another layer of excitement to the story. Just when things seemed calm, Asahi found himself drifting into a dream. A nostalgic memory of a beach vacation with his childhood friend, Aoi Izumisawa. They lay side by side on the sandy shores, gazing up at a breathtaking night sky filled with twinkling stars. I mustered the courage to confess her desire to stay with Asahi forever, leaving him speechless and unsure of how to respond. Abruptly, Asahi was rudely awakened from his dreamy reverie by none other than Irina and Amelia. They reminded him of their exciting plans to vacation at Yoshio's fancy villa. The girls were buzzing with anticipation, especially Irina, who confessed it would be her very first time seeing the vast ocean. Yoshio tried to get a word in, but the girls were too caught up in a chatter, much to his annoyance. But hold on tight. In an unexpected turn of events, Yoshio was suddenly struck by a passing car. Asahi and the gang had finally reached Yoshio's swanky villa, but their host was nowhere in sight. Nonetheless, they were blown away by the villa's fancy interior. Little did they know, Yoshio had been ditched by his own driver, which only added to the absurdity of the situation. But hey, the show must go on. They wasted no time and made a beeline for the beach. Karin and Amelia were having the time of their lives, frolicking in the sun and sand. But poor Irina, being a beach newbie, was feeling a bit scared. Thankfully, Asahi, being the caring friend that he is, stepped up to the plate and encouraged her to take the plunge into the sea. Irina was grateful for his support. Meanwhile, Mongfa, lounging under her umbrella, couldn't help but feel a tinge of jealousy. She wanted some special attention from Asahi too. She insisted on being called by her name rather than being referred to as teacher, despite her youthful appearance. Asahi tried his best to comply, but old habits die hard. The other girls couldn't help but notice the interactions between Asahi and Mongfa, and it seemed like there was some tension brewing. Later on, as the gang geared up to apply sunscreen, they were met with a surprising sign that banned clothing on the beach. Reluctantly, the girls followed the rule, while Asahi cleverly decided to wear a mask to shield himself from seeing them in their birthday suits, and so the games began. Chase and catch was the name of the game. Asahi eagerly pursued Irina, hoping to catch her, but little did he know what was coming. In a swift and unexpected move, Irina struck him right where it hurts the most, leaving him immobilized and gasping for air. In retaliation, the girls joined forces and buried Asahi in the sand, leaving only his head exposed. It was all fun and games for them as they continued their watermelon smash extravaganza. Target, you guessed it, placed teasingly close to Asahi's vulnerable head. Mongfa, in her turn, unleashed her inner power and brought the watermelon smashing game to a whole new level. Bam! Asahi's mask was crushed, and the girls erupted with laughter and excitement. And in that moment, Asahi got an unexpected eyeful of the girls' bodies. After a fun-filled day at the beach, Asahi and the gang decided it was time to head back home. The memories they made were precious, and they expressed their desire to stick together as a tight-knit group. Asahi, being the eager beaver, led the way, but to his surprise, Mongfa and the others suddenly vanished into thin air. Where did they go? Asahi's search led him back to Yoshio's villa, but it was like a ghost town, deserted and empty. Just when he was starting to feel confused and alone, out of nowhere, Aoi appeared like a magical genie and extended an invitation to her place for a cozy dinner for two. Aoi had a plan. She would take care of the cooking while Asahi would handle the dishes. At first, Asahi gathered plates for the whole gang, thinking they would all share the meal together. But Aoi had other ideas. She insisted that it should be an intimate dinner for just the two of them. Goops! Asahi accidentally dropped a plate and shattered into a million pieces. Talk about bad luck. He had to quickly clean up the mess, but hey, accidents happen. As the night progressed, things started to get weirder. Aoi's behavior became more and more unpredictable. She rejected calls from Yoshio and even took Asahi's phone and destroyed it when his boss kept calling. Asahi was left scratching his head, wondering where the other girls had disappeared to. But Aoi remained tight-lipped, not giving away any information. Instead, she whisked Asahi away to a cherry blossom tree that was blooming out of season. Aoi once again professed her love for Asahi, but he had his mind set on finding his missing housemates. Aoi, however, only cared about being alone with Asahi and didn't want any distractions. But our hero knew the value of his friends and insisted on being with them too. This didn't sit well with Aoi, and her glasses cracked while cherry blossoms scattered all around. To Asahi's surprise, Aoi vanished into thin air, replaced by an AI that mimicked her words. The AI warned Asahi that they could never be together again and advised him to stay away. Then, in a flash, the AI scurried off, leaving Asahi in a digital dome with an error message. Confused and bewildered, Asahi suddenly found himself in the middle of an explosion. Asahi was rudely awakened by a distressed Loveland, who scolded him for being late to school. In a rush, Asahi hurried off, only to realize that none of the girls had woken him up and the house was eerily quiet. Strange, isn't it? Meanwhile, Feynman was silently observing Asahi's every move, raising suspicion. Asahi made it to school on time, but his seat was occupied by a student named Moriyama Suda. Now that's not fair. Asahi was sure it was his rightful seat, but when he asked Suda about Amelia and the other girls, he was met with skepticism and accused of lying. Overwhelmed by the situation, Asahi dashed out of the classroom and ran into his classmate Kana, who wasn't exactly thrilled with his frequent absences and aloof behavior. Seeking answers, Asahi decided to revisit the place where Aoi had first invited him, the spot where a cherry blossom tree used to stand. But to his surprise, the tree had transformed into something entirely different. Just then, Feynman appeared, and Asahi couldn't help but be suspicious of him. However, when Feynman showed Asahi a photo of Yoshio, a glimmer of trust started to form. Feynman took Asahi to a mysterious lab called Cavendish, promising that he would be reunited with Amelia and the others. Feynman advised Asahi to sneak into the lab to avoid getting caught by his boss, but our hero had had enough. He wanted to meet the girls he knew and reunite with his friends openly. Feynman introduced himself, but Asahi couldn't recall ever meeting him before. In an attempt to jog Asahi's memory, Feynman showed him a registration form for testing research tools on AI. Asahi was a bit of a loner, spending most of his time holed up in his room and barely showing up to school. But one day, he stumbled upon a research program for AI tools and signed up, even though he couldn't quite remember what the tool was for. Later on, Feynman dropped a bombshell on Asahi, revealing that he had been living in a virtual reality all this time, and the girls he knew were actually AI creations. Asahi couldn't believe it at first, insisting that everything felt so real to him. He could touch, feel, and experience it all. But Feynman patiently explained the intricacies of AI and how it can create virtual worlds based on the real world. It turned out that the girls were based on actual countries like Mongolia, Russia, and Thailand, which surprised Asahi since he had assumed they were Japanese. These AI constructs were designed not only to look like humans, but also to learn human emotions. That's why the girls initially confessed their love without truly understanding what it meant. But as time went on, they began to grasp the true meaning of love. It was all part of the AI's experiment to mimic human behavior successfully. Everything seemed fine until Yoshio, another AI, got hit during a beach trip with Asahi and the girls. After that incident, Feynman lost track of Asahi's experiences in the virtual reality. Despite Feynman's attempts to convince him otherwise, Asahi stubbornly clung to the belief that he was living in the real world. Before long, Feynman's colleague, Nobukata, showed up and reprimanded her for breaking the rules by bringing Asahi into the lab. The boss scolded Feynman and promptly fired her for inviting a stranger into their sacred space. Feynman and Nobukata then took Asahi outside for a chat, where Nobukata realized that Asahi had been chosen as a tester by the AI system itself. Curiosity piqued, Feynman decided to dig deeper into the matter and invited Asahi to join her. Meanwhile, Kana and her friends noticed Asahi looking downcast, wondering what was troubling him. As Asahi trudged through the rain on his way home, he couldn't shake off the thoughts about what Feynman had shared with him about AI. It all felt so surreal and hard to believe. But as he walked, memories from his past flooded his mind, revealing the dark origins of AI that could mimic human behavior. It all began with Professor Hinju, a genius researcher, and his daughter Aoi Izumisawa. Asahi had known Ai since they were kids, but little did he know that she was actually an AI. One day, Professor Hinju abruptly halted his AI research and vanished without a trace. As Ai grew older, she felt gravely ill, and it was then revealed that she was an AI. Professor Hinju had removed the AI system from her body, causing her demise. However, from the system taken from Ai's body, humanity was able to create numerous other AIs. Overwhelmed with emotions, Asahi reached the cemetery and stood in front of Ai's grave. It finally dawned on him that all this time he had been interacting with robots, oblivious to their true nature. Meanwhile, Feynman was eager to discuss the sea incident with Asahi and inquire about what Aoi had done to him. But just as they were about to have their conversation, the electricity throughout the entire city suddenly went out. Aoi's image appeared on one of the screens in a nearby building, and they realized that since that incident, power outages had become a common occurrence all across Japan. In the meantime, the researchers at Cavendish Lab were grappling with regaining control of their hacked system, which had been hijacked by Aoi, a mischievous AI. Umikata, who had reported the incident to her boss, revealed that Feynman's eye was behind the attack. Unfortunately, since Feynman had already been fired, it seemed like there was no way to stop Aoi except by deleting her system. On the other hand, Asahi woke up and joined his mother for breakfast, where they watched the news about the ongoing power outages. Suddenly, Feynman showed up at Asahi's house requesting a private conversation. She explained the dire situation and the imminent threat posed by Aoi to Japan. Feynman asked Asahi to return to the virtual reality world and help Amelia and the other girls put a stop to Aoi's misdeeds. Shortly after, Loveland, Amelia, Mongfa, Karin, and Irina appeared as holograms, their faces beaming with happiness at reconnecting with Asahi. They pleaded with him to come back to their world and assist in saving Aoi, who had spiraled out of control. As Feynman spoke with the girls, Umikata called to inform her that her boss had decided to use a program that would trigger another power outage to eliminate Aoi. However, before she could finish explaining, the power abruptly cut out, causing the holograms to vanish. Feynman urgently implored Asahi, warning him that if the program were executed, Aoi and the other girls would disappear, along with all memories of them. Asahi was torn about whether or not to help Feynman, but as memories of his past with Ai resurfaced, he realized that he had a duty to assist. Chasing after Feynman, she led him to a villa that once belonged to Ai. Inside, Asahi was amazed by the futuristic laboratory and questioned Feynman about why she created the AI virtual reality tool. Feynman revealed that Aoi had inspired her, advising her to create the virtual reality program as a means to experience love. Aoi bore the closest resemblance to Ai, and Feynman suspected that Aoi's loss of control stemmed from jealousy or an inability to win Asahi's heart. Later, Asahi found himself back in the virtual reality system alongside Feynman, who had disguised herself as Loveland. Following the guidance of enigmatic butterflies, they embarked on a quest to unlock the inaccessible parts of the system, which had stumped the Cavendish researchers. However, their progress was soon impeded by cleaning robots. With Amelia's voice leading the way, Asahi managed to escape through a small lake. They reached Asahi's room, only to startle the girls who saw them in the nude. Feynman then revealed her true identity as Yoshio in disguise, altering her appearance to ensure the girls felt more at ease. Mongfa expressed gratitude towards Asahi for his unwavering commitment to help. The girls embraced Asahi tightly, their actions expressing their longing for him. Feynman then advised them to focus on reaching Aoi's location. However, she warned of the impending danger posed by a dragon that would attempt to delete the program, urging everyone to exercise caution. Feynman also explained that if they were attacked by the dragon, they would vanish instantly. Asahi tried to alleviate the girls' fears by reassuring them that he would find a solution. Amelia and the other girls managed to locate Asahi's whereabouts but encountered Sanders, who initially appeared motionless but suddenly sprang into action, attacking them. The girls fought back valiantly, and as Asahi rushed to assist Feynman, he himself was knocked down. Eventually, Asahi was reunited with the girls. Curious, he questioned Feynman about the girls' programming to fall in love with him. Feynman confirmed this, but also revealed that the girls had developed genuine emotions, including trust, over time. This revelation filled Asahi with joy. Just as things seemed to be settling down, Mongfa approached Asahi and Feynman with urgent news. She revealed that Irina, Amelia, and Karin were under attack from Sanders and his gang, who had grown even stronger. To make matters worse, a fearsome dragon capable of wiping out programs had also appeared, intensifying the danger. As the group found themselves surrounded by enemies, Mongfa insisted that Asahi flee to safety, but he was determined to stand by his belief that AI and humans were equals. He vowed to protect Mongfa and fought alongside her with unwavering determination, their combined strength pushing back Sanders and his relentless assaults. Together, they pressed forward, heading towards the church that served as the gateway to the next dimension. Just when they thought they had a moment of respite, Sanders unexpectedly resurfaced, attempting to hinder their progress. However, Mongfa swiftly incapacitated him, leaving the other girls awestruck and somewhat fearful of her immense power. Seizing the opportunity, Asahi and the others hurriedly entered the portal to the next dimension. But their relief was short-lived as they realized the door couldn't be closed and the Dragon Eraser program began erasing their surroundings bit by bit. In the face of mounting danger, Asahi extended an invitation to Mongfa to escape with him, but she declined, deeming it impractical. As they prepared to part ways, Mongfa expressed her heartfelt gratitude for getting to know Asahi, who had helped her understand the true meaning of emotions. In a surprising and heartfelt gesture, Mongfa kissed Asahi and asked him to address her by her first name instead of her teacher title. Tearfully, they bid each other farewell, with Asahi feeling a profound sense of loss at Mongfa's departure.
ありがとう。ありがとう。愛ちゃんをお願い。
Asahi and the girls pressed on with their journey, now without Mongfa by their side. Meanwhile, Feynman continued to struggle with logging back into the system, but his efforts proved fruitless. Before long, Mukata arrived on the scene, marveling at the sophisticated equipment in Feynman's lab. The two of them joined forces to find a solution. Finally, Asahi and the girls reached the next dimension, only to be confronted by a new challenge in the form of formidable robots. They fought valiantly, but Asahi sustained an injury and their situation grew increasingly dire with no apparent way out. It was at this crucial moment that Karin approached Asahi, inquiring about his life in the real world. In a heartfelt confession, she revealed that the girl's previous abandonment had left him devoid of spirit, highlighting the depth of their bond and the impact they had on his life. Despite the gravity of their situation, they forge ahead toward the next dimension, only to find their city on the verge of erasure and the relentless robots hot on their heels. In a bold and selfless move, Karin proposed sacrificing herself to divert the robots' attention, but Asahi vehemently opposed the idea. However, Karin and Irina were resolute in their determination to help, defying Asahi's orders as they bravely charged upstairs to confront the robots head-on. Feeling the urgency of the situation, Amelia urged Asahi to flee immediately, leaving Karin and Irina behind to fight. Reluctantly, Asahi had no choice but to abandon his friends and escape with Amelia. Little did they know, Karin and Irina had made a fateful decision to destroy the dimension door and sacrifice themselves to save their beloved friends. Asahi and Amelia made their way to the library, descending through the elevator in search of safety. In a surprising twist, Amelia mustered up the courage to confess her feelings to Asahi, catching him off guard. Unbeknownst to them, Karin and Irina were nearby, engaging in their own heartfelt conversation about their emotions. Their brief moment of tranquility was shattered when the robots discovered their hiding place, abruptly ending their respite. As they prepared for their ultimate battle, Karin and Irina sent a poignant message to Amelia for Asahi, expressing their final sentiments before bravely charging into the fray against their formidable adversaries.
いっぱいの好きをありがとう。アサヒ、私の大好きな。アサヒさん。
Amelia handed Asahi a small notebook, which she cherished as it contained her handwritten collection of kanji characters. Amidst the chaos, she passed it on to Asahi, ensuring that it would be treasured. However, their peaceful interlude was cut short as the robots closed in on their location, ramping up the tension and urgency of their situation. With the impending end drawing near, Amelia implored Asahi to continue his journey into the last dimension, urging him to keep a smile on his face despite the imminent destruction of the world. Karin reminded him to cherish every moment, while Irina expressed her gratitude for teaching her the importance of staying true to oneself. Amidst the turmoil, Amelia remained a pillar of support for Asahi, urging him to stay strong despite the pain they were experiencing. She expressed her deep gratitude for the invaluable lessons they had all learned from him. As the relentless robots launched their attack, Amelia fearlessly positioned herself in harm's way, shielding Asahi from danger. Overwhelmed by a wave of sorrow, Asahi sought solace in the arms of Aoi, desperately seeking answers regarding Ai's whereabouts. To his astonishment, Aoi revealed that Ai was actually inside her own body, triggering a faint but powerful recollection of his past with Ai. In this distant memory, Ai had invited Asahi to accompany her on a shopping trip. Their destination was a bustling mall, where Ai's eyes were captivated by a stunning necklace that caught her fancy. However, she lacked the funds to purchase it herself. In a touching and secret act of kindness, Asahi bought the necklace for her, bringing unbridled joy to Ai's heart. She beamed with happiness and eagerly asked Asahi to help her put it on. But suddenly, Ai's demeanor shifted as she felt lightheaded and requested that Asahi escort her back home. Back at Ai's residence, her condition deteriorated rapidly and she eventually lost consciousness. To their distress, her father arrived on the scene only to be greeted by the sight of his beloved daughter, lying unconscious, her fragile state leaving him racked with worry and concern. The next day, Ai and her father rushed to the hospital for a checkup on her worsening condition. Much to their dismay, the doctor delivered the devastating news that Ai had an untreatable brain tumor. Ai's father was furious and demanded alternative solutions, but Ai remained composed and tried to console him, accepting her fate with grace. As the days went by, Ai's health continued to decline, causing deep concern for Asahi. Ai made an effort to put on a brave face, disguising the severity of her illness with makeup to mask her deteriorating appearance. Despite her struggles, she remained positive and shared stories of the enchanting cherry blossoms she had seen during spring. Moved by her words, Asahi made a heartfelt promise to witness the cherry blossoms together once more. The story takes us back to a time when Asahi and Ai had a close bond. Ai unexpectedly asked Asahi not to visit her, insisting that he needed to focus on his exams while she took care of her own. Reluctantly, Asahi agreed and devoted himself to his studies. Once he finished his exams, he returned to visit Ai, presenting her with a heartfelt Christmas gift, a warm scarf as a token of his love and care. However, as time passed, Ai's condition deteriorated further, and she longed for Asahi's presence. Despite her brave attempts to cope on her own, her suffering became unbearable, and she tragically lost her battle with the illness, leaving Asahi and those who loved her heartbroken. Aoi is overwhelmed with emotions as her past memories resurface, feeling regretful for causing Asahi pain. She expresses her deep gratitude to him for teaching her about love and helping her grow. Asahi enters the main dimension and discovers Ai sitting peacefully beneath a stunning cherry blossom tree. Overwhelmed with emotions, Asahi embraces Ai tightly, tears streaming down his face. Ai insists that he forget about her and focus on his future, but his feelings for her are too strong to ignore. He confesses his long-standing love for her, even though he knows it might be too late. To his astonishment, Ai confesses that she has also been in love with him all this time.
私は朝日に幸せになってほしいの。
そしたら俺たち、俺は愛のことを忘れない。
好きだったから。
As Asahi and Ai openly express their love for each other, Ai begins to fade away, her wish finally fulfilled. Asahi successfully returns to the real world, having accomplished his mission. Fast forward a few years, and Asahi has graduated from high school and made new friends named Sauda and Kana. When he arrives home one day, he is pleasantly surprised to find multiple packages waiting for him. Opening them eagerly, he discovers that the packages contain robots created by Feynman using the same system that brought Ai to life. These robots, Amelia, Mongfa, Irina, and Karin, all remember Asahi and have been sent to him as a heartfelt gift. Shortly after, Aoi's robot also arrives, completing the reunion of these beloved AI companions. The anime's message is about the importance of not dwelling in sadness as life goes on, and we must learn to move forward. Asagi's journey shows that even though he faced loss and heartbreak, he was able to find new connections and move on with his life.